Cardinal Philip Neri, my dear Cardinal Lorengo, Cardinal Francis, Manoj, and Bishop Joe, my dear fellow pilgrims, we've come to the end of our pilgrimage of hope in Penang. 3 days, 3.5 days of festivity, joy and sharing, prayer and reflection, to the liturgy in music and song. We felt the joy of the camaraderie, the union of being all of us together, one family of disciples of Christ. We've heard the call to have an encounter with Jesus, and that I think we've experienced. We've heard the call to go out and preach the gospel, and we have felt the fire and enthusiasm to do so. We have been invited to walk the Emmaus journey, and the invitation was irresistible. And now we return from the Emmaus experience back to Jerusalem, to be with our people, our communities, our fellow workers in the vineyard of the Lord. Some of us and our memories went back to the Mission Congress of 2006 in Chiang Mai. That was a festival full of excitement. I vividly recall a Cardinal Vidal dancing on the stage, excited as a child, with so much grace and naturalness. I recall the church, the head of the church in, was it Kazakhstan or Kyrgyzstan, I'm not sure, bringing his whole vicariate on the stage. After the song and dance, he declared, "This is my whole diocese. All my people have come." There must have been about 12 or 15 people. There was much of sharing, success stories, joy, excitement. It was a festival of mission. This time has been a little different. Reflection. Cardinal Darley spoke about the true meaning of hope, about the theology of sharing, the story of Jesus. Archbishop Simon Goh spoke of going a different way, the way of the Bangkok document following our General Conference in 2022. Cardinal Ambo spoke of the Emmaus experience, the disciples evangelized by the Master as he joined them on the journey. And experts from different fields gave us very valuable input in different topics. And weren't we touched by the testimony of the different specialized lay groups, associations yesterday? I think a recap of the last few days would be incomplete without reference to the 3 stories of Archbishop Christopher Browse. His call to go forth this morning with enthusiasm, with confidence, with certainty, with the presence of the Lord. And I think also the testimony in music and dance of Father Robert Gallier, and the continuous accompaniment by the very professional Rex band that accompanied us all these days. As we complete our pilgrimage, the Master will accompany us as we go ahead on our Emmaus journey towards 2033. It does seem a bit distant, but it needs our wholehearted enthusiasm, a sense of urgency already from today. My dear brothers and sisters, what did strike me in the group sharings, Christopher Browse spoke about the sharings and I too was very impressed by that, was the prevalent feeling in many areas of Asia of difficulties in carrying out our work of evangelization. Obstacles in the work. Much of this is seen in the presence of civil legislation that is unfriendly to the spread of the gospel. Restrictions on freedom of religion, presence or threats of anti-conversion laws, strangleholds on the financial strength of the church, even for our acts of charity, and inequality in many places of treatment based on religion. the church is called to go forth and make Asia a better Asia, to make it a family according to the mind of God, by planting the presence of the gospel values in theory, but also in practice, and mainly in praxis. Archbishop Christopher Prowse spoke of not imposing the gospel, proposing the gospel. Not imposing Jesus, proposing Jesus. 40 years back, our leaders of the FABC identified 3 special characteristics of Asia. Plurality of religions, hence called for a dialogue with other religions. Richness of different cultures, hence called for a dialogue with cultures. A great number of poor, and called for a dialogue with the poor. This, I would say, are not difficulties, not roadblocks, but challenges and opportunities, means for evangelization. Dialogue with religions. On the 60th anniversary of Nostra Aetate, we need to redouble our efforts for dialogue with a changed mindset. Pope Francis repeatedly told us, change your mindset. That is the block. Other religions are not our competitors, not our enemies, not our rivals. There is so much of commonality among us. All are seeking God, all are seeking spiritual values, all are seeking a better world. The document signed by Pope Francis in Abu Dhabi, there is a statement expressing appreciation about the diversity of religions. A little controverted statement over there, much discussed, but I think it gives us thought to reflect on our attitude towards other religions. Can we not collaborate together, bring gospel values, truth, justice, brotherhood, sisterhood, forgiveness, adjustment, peace? Can we become peace builders together? Is not this true evangelization? The dialogue with cultures. Our Asian mentality values spirituality, respect for elders, hospitality, family, and this is very opposed to individualism, materialism, self-centeredness, the bane of many other cultures. Is it a surprise, my dear sisters and brothers, that many of the world's religions were born in Asia? I think it is because of the cultural values of Asia that facilitated the growth of these religions. Could we not build on this? Again, I'm taking the last talk of Archbishop Christopher Prowse, speaking of the values that Asia can give the world. Have we taken this seriously? After a spurt of enculturation after Vatican II, there seems to be everything in the freezer. In our liturgies, in our devotions, in our works, in our research, in our talks, the richness of Indian Asian cultures has not been sufficiently spoken about, but never really in reality appreciated and used. A dialogue with the poor. Again, Pope Leo spoke of it as being the flesh of Christ. They have much to teach us. Pope Francis kept on insisting with us that they are not beneficiaries, they are our benefactors. Their trust in God, the joy that they have. Right through his pontificate, Pope Francis tried to make this an accent of the Church, a bit more to become more poor-oriented. I ask ourselves, have we done that? Have we really shown a change in our administration, in our decisions, in our approach to the poor? How much of our budget do we give for the poor? How much do we allocate to projects? And how much to the poor? And then that is 40 years ago or so in the Penang conference, when we identified the 3 dialogue with the religions, dialogue with cultures, dialogue with the poor. The world has moved ahead. The context is its world. Contexts have changed. Laudato Si, Laudate Deo, Pope Francis has put care for creation in the center of our apostolate. Dialogue with creation became again one more dialogue, especially in the last Bangkok conference. The Paris Accord of COP25, many say, is a direct result of Pope Francis's insistence with government leaders, with others about care for creation, using of resources of the earth. FABC, by starting an office for the environment, for ecology, has responded to the call. Are we also taking it to our dioceses, to our provinces, to our lay associations? Are we building green dioceses? Today, synodality is the inward in the Church. It came naturally, I think, to us Asians because of the culture of Asia, values to the family, the community, the tribe, the local circumstances. But it has not sufficiently trickled down to our dioceses and parish structures. The Lord was always synodal in his methodology. The legacy I think Pope Francis wanted to leave at the end of his pontificate was synodality. Remember in one of our discussions, I asked Pope Francis, the Holy Father, what is your heart telling you about the final synodal goal? And his response to me was, Eminence, I think this is what I think the Lord wants. Il Signore lo vuole. That's what he wants. He is following his directions. Pope Leo, as soon as he began his pontificate, indicated very clearly that this was a priority for him as well. There was a very smooth transition. If synodality percolates in our own church, it could make a difference to civil society also. Good governance, care for people, democracy will be improved. That is the basis of synodality. And I ask, how much have we seriously considered this in our apostolate? How much importance have we given to the laity? How much have we, clerics, bishops, religious provincials and superiors, have held authority and decision making to ourselves? Have we understood synodality? Have we accepted synodality? Have we practiced synodality? Again, there are other new challenges. The role of women in the church, role of women in society. Generally, the church, the Catholic Church in particular, was ahead of civil society in many, many social issues. I feel that in this we have fallen behind. We have not given sufficient importance to women in church structures. We've got to begin, be conscious of this, race ahead to catch up with the world, which has already recognized it in many ways. I dare suggest that we can go ahead for the youth. To conclude, I dare suggest that we need to begin this in our houses of formation, a change of mentality. In our formators, it also will then make a change for the formees. Formation for priests, for religious, and for us bishops also, an ongoing formation. I think that we, by our mindset, are obstacles to the progress, obstacles to a speedier evangelization. The Master will accompany us if we invite him, if we have ears open to listen, if hearts open to receive him. Let us continue the Emmaus experience, rush back to Jerusalem to spread the good news. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Eminence. May I now invite